By the end of this video, you will know how to set up Claude Code and whether it's worth making the switch from other vibe coding platforms like Lovable. We're going to go into some of Claude Code's features and then talk about some alternatives that you might want to consider instead of Claude Code. The first thing that you need is a paid Claude plan. You can only use Claude Code on one of their paid plans, even if it's the lowest cost option. If you're not on a paid Claude plan, you can watch this video and then later on sign up for the pro version and then actually go through the steps. And then once you're on a paid Claude plan, there's two different ways that you can use Claude Code. One way is by downloading the Claude desktop app and then going to the Code tab, and then you'll be able to use Claude Code inside of here. And there are a bunch of features you need to know about of how to actually use it, but this is one way that you can interface with Claude Code, and it's a little bit easier if you are less technical. But I'm also going to show you the terminal, which also is not that hard once you understand how it works. The terminal, this is something that is included on all computers. On the Mac, for example, you can just use search to get to the terminal app. So it's an app on your computer. And the terminal, you can think of it as basically a way to talk directly to your computer. And there's one really important thing that you need to know, and in a second we're going to get Claude installed, is which folder you are in your computer. So this is just my main folder here. This is not a subfolder that we're in. And this is really important because the folder that you're in is going to define what you are giving Claude access to. Claude is an AI, and you want to be really careful about what you're giving AI access to on your computer. To show you what that looks like here, I created a new folder in my desktop on the Mac. This is how you can do it if you have a Mac computer. We can right click on that folder, and then I can say new terminal at folder. If I click that, now you can see video test here is the folder that we're working in inside of our computer. So when we give Claude Code access to this folder, it can write code, it can create files, it can do all sorts of things inside of only this folder, which is really important. So to actually install Claude Code, all we have to do is copy that command from the Claude Code page. You just go to Meet Claude and go to Claude Code, and then you just paste it in, click enter, and this is going to set up and install Claude Code. I can see Claude Code successfully is installed. It tells us where on the computer it installed, and then it's ready to go. We can start coding in Claude Codes. The next step we have to do is just type Claude, and then it'll pop up. It'll say, okay, great, we are in. And then once you're in, it'll probably ask you to log into your Claude account so that it can connect it to your paid Claude account. If not, you can do a / command and type login. And then it'll say you want to log in with your Claude account with subscription. This is going to be the best, most economical way. I don't recommend using the API usage billing. I strongly recommend using the Claude subscription because you're going to get a much lower price for tokens. It's just a much better value. You can click that. It'll redirect you, and then you'll be able to log in that way. So then once you're logged in, you then are able to start using Claude Code. So if you're in the Claude desktop app, the same concepts apply where you want to make sure you're in the correct folder so that the AI only has access to the folder that you want. And it's a little easier to use because you can you have a little UI to select the model instead of in terminal, you would have to do a / command to actually select the model, but all the other / commands are here. And this is the same as in the terminal. So you can decide which one you prefer. I would keep this on local for now. This means that just going to code on your local device. There are ways that you can connect Claude Code to your phone with a remote control or a connection so that you could continue coding from your phone Claude app instead of just from your computer. But for now, we're just going to commit or just code directly on the computer. And then what people typically do is then you would push your changes, commit your changes to GitHub so that you have a cloud repo, cloud repository where all your code is stored in the cloud. But then you also have your local code on your computer. So let's jump back here into the terminal and let's have it build something simple. So let's test something out. So I'm going to say, build a simple landing page for a coffee shop website. And here we can see it's creating the file because it saw that we had no files. It was an empty directory. The folder was empty. So it's creating a single file landing page, which is going to be a really simple, just one file landing page. I'm assuming it'll use HTML and CSS to do this. So here we can see it wrote the code and it's asking us if we want to create a file. Now, these are permissions that Claude will always ask you. There are ways to have commands to get around that, so it doesn't ask you permission, but it's usually a good idea. And we can either say yes or allow all edits during this session. So I'm going to say all edits during this session, which is going to give it the ability to make edits inside the folder and create folders or files if it needs. So it says the landing page is ready. We can open it in a browser to see the full experience. So let's just see the power of Claude Code. So I can ask it to open it for me. And then it's asking it if I want to proceed with this command. And then our computer opened the browser and we can scroll down and we can see this was all generated with Claude Code. Really cool, pretty good for just one prompt. And I think that also shows you the power of Claude Code, especially with me just asking it to do something on the computer. Anytime you're not sure what's possible or if it can do something or how to do something, you just ask Claude Code to do it. It has access to your computer and it can run commands to do things. And it's going to ask permission to do things as well. So you could see it was like, is it okay to run this command? So it has a lot of safety features built in as well. Next, I'm going to talk about some more features you should know about how to use Claude Code now that you're set up. And then I'm going to talk about some alternatives that you could consider to Claude Code. The first feature that you need to know about is the /command feature. So with /command, you can get to a lot of different features inside of Claude Code. Because it's all terminal, you have to use these commands to get to what you want to, essentially. You're not going to need to know about all of these, of course, and they are always adding more features. Like one that's cool, the security review, which will compile a security review pending changes, which is really cool. This is a brand new one, I think, simplify review change code to make sure that it is written in a streamlined way. But the one I'm going to talk about is skills. Skills are something that applies across all of the Claude products. You can see I have a couple skills built in already, a feature planner, front-end design, which is a plugin, which is kind of similar to a skill. I'm actually not 100% sure the full difference between plugins and skills. But just know that they both basically are context that Claude can load in to our app. So for example, the front-end design skill, which I added, and you can do this through, and I can see it's here. We click find skills. It should pull up some skills that we can look into. And here it's saying, yeah, what kind of skill are you looking for? A specific task, a domain, or a workflow. So let's say I want, a design skill, another design skill. It's going to search the plugin marketplace. And then it can install skills onto our computer just by doing this through Claude. So again, here it sees we already have the front-end design skill, but it's suggesting, okay, tailwind design system, web design guidelines, whatever. So we can do this and it will install it into our system. So why don't I say web design guidelines? And then the way that skills work is that anytime we send a prompt to Claude, it's going to decide if any of the skills it has are relevant. And if it is relevant, it will load in that entire skill. A skill is essentially a big text file with instructions. And then it's going to load that in and then use that to improve the results of our prompt. It can load in as many skills as it needs at once, and they can be used within Claude Code, but they also can be used in Cowork and Chat as well. So that's just something to be aware of. It's not only in Claude Code, they can be used across the ecosystem. Now, if we're in the code tab here of the desktop app, all of the same things apply. We can search, find skills. It's the same /commands are there, just a little bit easier to use inside of a Claude app. I'm pretty comfortable with the terminal, so it makes it pretty easy. I think I'm just used to it at this point. But all the things all the /commands and everything are going to work both in terminal and in the Claude desktop app. Inside the terminal, another one that's really nice is model. So we can select the model we're using. Right now, default Opus 4.6, but you can switch to Opus with 1 million token context, Sonnet, Haiku. So you can change and change this at any time if you want. Feature planner, that's really nice because it'll help us break down and plan a feature before actually implementing. That's a really good thing to know about. And then a couple others that I find myself using a lot is compact. So this is if you have a really long conversation, you can do compact so that you don't use as many tokens when you send a prompt, but it'll still have information about what you were talking about. And then another one is just clear. If you click clear, it'll clear the whole session and then basically start over. There are two main competitors and alternatives to Claude Code that I'm going to talk about right now. First is Cursor. So inside of Cursor, you can use any model that you want. They have Claude, they have OpenAI models. You can also open a terminal inside of Cursor and then actually use Claude Code inside of Cursor. So by doing that, you kind of get the best of both worlds. So you can, use Claude Code in a terminal. It's inside of the folder, inside of Cursor. And then you also have all the agents in Cursor to work as well. Now, what makes Cursor different from Claude Code? Cursor is its own company that basically has created coding agents. And those coding agents have different system prompts, different methodologies than Claude Code itself. So Claude Code is created by Anthropic. It's its own agent with its own structure of how it codes and how it searches your code base, how it plans. And Cursor has its own system for that. So one of the benefits of Cursor, again, is that you can use any model that you want. I think that it might be a little bit more expensive to use Cursor right now in the long run, because with Claude Code, they're like $100 plan with Claude Code right now gives you a lot of tokens, and I find it hard to reach the limits. I find it a little bit easier to reach the limits with Cursor, but the UI of Cursor is really nice. So if you're intimidated by the terminal and you just want a nicer UI, Cursor is really nice. And there's a lot of built-in tools that they've been adding, such as like agents that can open a browser and test your app and do things like that. Now, I think Claude Code could build in some of those things also, but that's how I would think about Cursor. Definitely worth checking out. We have a lot of videos on Cursor as well. The closest competitor here is Codex by OpenAI. This I find to be more affordable than Claude Code as well. With the $20 plan on OpenAI, I've been able to get a lot of tokens out of it, and I haven't run into any issues with running out of tokens. So it's worth trying out as well. If you already have a ChatGPT plan, I think you would already have access to this. The app, I think, is a little easier to use than the Claude app. It's kind of more like chats, but the same concept where you're in a folder. Everything here, Cursor, Claude Code, Codex, the concept of coding inside of a folder and giving the AI access to a specific folder on your computer is going to be the same. But here you can go in, you can ask questions, you'll see the changes, but it's going to have similar functionality to where it has access to everything on your computer, or anything that you give it access to on your computer. And it's very agentic, and kind of like I was talking about, how Cursor and Claude Code are agents that have slightly different system prompts and slightly different ways of actually building. OpenAI's Codex is similar, where they're their own company that have created their own systems. So it's definitely worth checking out. And I do think it's a little bit less expensive right now than Claude Code, and maybe even less, and also less expensive than Cursor. So definitely worth checking out this as well. I hope that you enjoyed this and you have Claude Code now set up on your computer. I'd love to see what you build. Leave a comment and let me know. If you have any questions, let me know as well. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get even more content like this. The AI world is changing really quickly, and I'm doing my best to stay on top of it and share everything I learn with you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.